So, this was a video that was sort of planned last minute, sort of like one of my final videos of 2024. I was like, damn, what do I want to do? This isn't my 2024 rewind, I know what you guys are thinking. That is being uploaded, right? So, figured that because Inky had requested it, specifically Inky Skulls, for those of you curious, he requested that I make storytime content a little bit. Not storytime animation, but just sort of share chunks of my life and stuff that has happened to me. So, I figured I would. Given that there's a lot of people that actually really like my voice for some reason. So, that's what I'm doing. I'm making a storytime video for you guys because I figured it'd be a pretty cool idea. So, I'm gonna give that a shot, and we're gonna go from there. So, I saw a, not a Reddit post, but a Twitter post the other day, where someone had asked autistic people, how do you feel about the word retarded being used? I know that people are gonna probably cancel me. Twitter's gonna be like, oh my god, he said retarded, oh no. Whoopie-doo, I'm autistic. I can say the word. I can say it. Whoopie-doo, stop being sensitive. So, I actually have a pretty a story to sort of go behind this. So, when I was in high school, oh god, he's reflecting on high school at about 4 years ago. What is he on? What drugs is he on? Let me tell my story. So, I am lucky to be in a state where they have a couple of vocational schools. Now, what is a vocational school? A vocational school is when you go for one half of the day to your primary school, your regular school, but then the other half you go to a school where everything is basically hands-on and you get sort of experience for the real world. As in, like, job training. But the cool thing is that you still get credit for being at your primary school, which I think that's pretty freaking amazing. So, you're probably wondering, okay, so this guy probably went to some sort of really cool class. Sort of. I started off in a graphic design class, because I was like, oh, graphic design is my passion. I'm gonna put the meme on the screen, by the way, to sort of, like, give, like, a haha sort of thing. So, but I moved to another class because I was falling behind, and because I was getting overwhelmed. And then in that class that I had moved to, I was getting even more behind. And I was like, oh my god, like, I'm so stressed, I can't keep up on my own work. So, I moved to the opposite campus, because where I live, I'm not gonna say where, but I do apologize if you guys are hearing the notifications from Twitter. I'm getting a spam of notifications from someone. But anyway. I had moved to the opposite campus because where I live, they have 2 separate campuses because they have so many classes that they needed to divide them into 2 separate campuses in 2 different areas. So, yeah. Anyway, I was moved to the other campus for a specific program where they teach you, like, laundry, they teach you, like, retail, they teach you, like, what is it, like, yard stuff? Like, it's like I can't think of it, but they also teach like food prep and stuff like that too. So it's like if you were to go into like a hotel, you'd have like room service experience, or you'd have like retail experience. It's just sort of that, and there's a lot of people who are visibly disabled or disabled to the point where it's I can't word it properly, but some of if not a lot of the kids within the class, you can very obviously tell that they are mentally challenged or mentally disabled to some degree. Not all of them are like this, but the majority of the students who are put in this class are mentally disabled or mentally handicapped in some degree, whether it be they have learning disability or mental disability or cognitive, just anything along those lines, just mental disabilities like autism or some sort of other disorders. Like it's one of those, right? So they put me into this class because the teachers, they sort of came together and they were like, we want you to still participate in this, and we think we know a class that would work out for you. So they moved me to this classroom, and I started off doing laundry. And in less than a year, I completed that. Usually it takes them 3 years to be able to gather all the experience for a specific part of the class. But it's not uncommon for this specific class for someone to have 2 or more than 2 of the things down. And because I had gotten in late, they didn't think that I would be able to learn something. However, I managed to learn the laundry tasks and get the entire course of laundry complete in less than 6 months, which they were astonished by. They were like, whoa, this guy has potential. So then they moved me from laundry to retail. And this is where it all begins. I was moved to retail my last year of the vocational school. Now, I had graduated from my primary school, so I was only going half of the day just to the vocational school, and the vocational school only. And, well, I faced a lot of harassment while I was on the bus. And they knew that I couldn't really do too much about it. So it was about the first week of the... I don't remember what year, but it was probably somewhere between 2021, Jesus Christ, 2021 and 2022, somewhere around that time period. Yeah, no, it was 2021 to 22. And this was because I graduated in 2021. So I went from 2021 till 2022 of the vocational school. And because some of these guys knew I was autistic and visibly autistic, like, I wasn't afraid to say, yeah, I'm autistic. You know, I was very open about also being, queer, and I don't think many people had an issue with this. However, there were some kids who decided to make it a problem. So, what happened? So these kids, I sat with this guy who I met within the first week. He and I grew pretty close friends, and he was really nice. He helped me out with a lot of my work. He helped me out with a lot of classes and stuff like that the year prior. So he and I were already pretty familiar with each other, and so I decided to sit with him. And Now, for context, we were towards the back of the bus. And if you know, the back of the bus is usually known for, like, being where the loud kids are. At the time, I didn't have an issue with this because I didn't get to meet the real rowdy kids yet. So, there were a whole bunch of new faces coming to the back of the bus. And he looks at me, he was like, "Oh god." And I was like, "Huh?" And he was like, we're gonna call him Devin. So, my friend Devin is like, "Oh god." And I'm like, "What's up, Devin? You seem kind of suspicious." And he was like, "These guys are known bullies." I'm like, "Oh god." And so I was like, "We'll just ignore them for right now, and if they do anything, we're gonna report it." So, these guys were actively using the N-word. Now, you're probably thinking, okay, well, these guys are probably, African American. They can probably say the word, right? These guys are white. They're 100% white. They were saying stuff like, "Oh, I hate being in this country. I hate being born white." Stuff like that, but they also actively used the N-word. And so I kept my trap shut. Devin kept his trap shut, and we were getting really fed up with this until they started to target us. It had been a good couple of weeks, and we were already pretty pissed off at these guys. So we waited a couple of weeks, and then they started calling us retarded. They started calling us the N-word. They started talking about very, very inappropriate topics, and since it's past the 8-minute mark, I can say this. They were talking about very, very lewd / suggestive / 18+ topics. As in, they were talking about pornography on the bus. Well, there was minors here. So, I was like, what the fuck? And so Devin and I decided to move to the front of the bus. And so there was some other guys up at the front of the bus, who I was familiar with, and Devin had no idea who these guys were. Devin noticed one day that I just wasn't back there, and he decided to join me a couple of days later, and was like, "Hey, you moved up because of, them, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I moved up to the front of the bus because of the guys." And Devin goes, "Okay." And so he and I just sort of started chilling on the front of the bus with all the other students who I was familiar with, who I knew also had autism or other disabilities, right? So, these guys found out that we had moved up because of them. And so, they made it a deal that not only on the bus would they say this stuff, but they would also say it in the cafeteria. I forgot to mention this when I was retelling the story to Inky yesterday. But, yeah, they also said the same stuff in the cafeteria as well. So, oh god, fun, we love that. So, we tried to tell the principal, and he couldn't do anything about it. And when he did, they still continued to do it, unfortunately. And so, Devin and I were getting really fed up with the bullies. We were like, okay, this is seriously going too far. And they started continuing to call us retarded and other terms. So, I had enough. And so I went to the principal again. I'm like, "Hey, they're calling us retarded. They're calling us the N-word. They're cursing loudly." And the bus driver's trying to do stuff about it, but there's only so much that she can do. And so the principal was like, I can't do anything. And we were like, why? And he was like, well, because it's not my problem. It's not my bus, so it's not my problem. And so Devin and I were already pissed off. And this just pissed us off even more. So I asked Devin if he could go to the principal with me so that we could report the guys. So I meet up with Devin. I do apologize, I got this bit mixed up. I said that I was still in school, but no, I was out of school at the time. I wasn't going to homeroom. Devin and I, we were going inside the office, the primary office of the school. He was just getting out, and I said that I had to use the bathroom. So they let me into the bathroom. Devin and I met up. We made our way to the office, the front office. And we file a report on the bullies. And so we give the bus number, we write down what happened, we give our sides of the story, and the principal calls us, right? And she says, there's not much I can do. It's their buses, so it's their problem. Sound familiar, right? We were fuming. So we mentioned, well, Principal XYZ said that because it's you guys' buses, he can't do anything about it. And our principal said, okay, well then we'll have to see what we can do. And a couple days later, we get on the bus. And lo and behold, guys are there. However, they've moved from the back of the bus to the middle section, right behind us. And then the guys from the middle section were behind them. And we felt as if this was very, very targeted. So, Devin and I look at each other, we're like, oh god, this can only go one of two ways. And so, well, the most insane thing happened. Principal XYZ walks in the bus. He was like, well, hello everybody. And he starts talking about how great the school is. Oh god. And so he stands with the bullies, turns around and is like, but I'm getting several reports from several students about a very specific group of students. And right as he said, specific group of students, he looks at this entire group of kids, and a kid starts laughing behind us, and Devin and I just look at each other like, ooh, karma's a bitch. And so he goes, I don't want to hear anybody using the R slur. I don't want to hear anybody using the N slur. I especially do not want to hear people talking about very inappropriate topics, because this should not be being spoken about in a school setting. And as soon as Devin and I get off the bus, we high-five each other. We're like, we did it. We did it. But it's not over yet. It's far from over. I mentioned earlier, I did retail in this specific program. So when I got in the following day, the teacher goes, hey, we're opening the coffee shop today. We had a coffee shop in the classroom. And so we were like, oh, okay. So we start cleaning down everything, my friends and I. Devin is not in our class, unfortunately, but anyway. We open up the coffee shop, start cleaning things down, wiping things down, turning on the register and everything. And so, we go up to take the orders. And now, one of the bullies was from painting and decorating, which was all the way across on the other side. The exact opposite side of where our classroom was located. Like, literally, whatever. So we go to painting and decorating, and the teacher says her students had left their money in envelopes, and so we take the envelopes and we take them down. One of my friends is putting the money into the cash register, sort of sorting through things, while the other is working on getting the cart and fixing everything, also working at the register, while I was in the coffee shop making the coffees. So, as soon as I finish the last coffee, we start heading back up. And so I start explaining to them what happened on the bus. And so they're like, wait a minute. You just described one of the kids in painting and decorating. And I was like, I did? And they were like, yeah. And I'm like, huh, must be a coincidence. So, we walk back up to painting and decorating. And the teacher was going through a lesson. However, as soon as the door opened up, she paused and said, oh, hi guys. We're so glad to have you back. We're so glad that the coffee orders came out alright. And so the other two start stepping in, and I'm looking at the last coffee and the name of the order. And I'm like, okay, can I walk in and give this order? And so my friends go, yeah, sure. So I step in, and I read off the name that I had put on the drink. And he whips his head around really fast. He's like, huh? Lo and behold, this was one of the Bullies' drinks. And I hand it to him, and I go, by the way, I'm the one who has been making these drinks. And we step out of the classroom. So I get back on the bus as soon as bell rings later in the day. And there he was, the middle row, talking to a whole bunch of people, apologizing to them for bullying them. And he walks up behind me as I'm slipping on my headphones to listen to CG5, because at the time I was a huge CG5 stan. And so I take off one side of my headphone, and I'm like, can I help you? And he goes, I just wanted to apologize for how I treated you throughout the year. I am so sorry for how my friends have treated you throughout the years. None of us should have treated you like absolute shit, nor should we have called you retarded, nor should we have used the N-word. And I was like, well, thank you for saying that, but you can't really take back the damage that you did. You do realize that, right? And he was like, yeah, I'm aware, and I'm sorry. And so, from that day forward, this kid and I started talking a lot more. He started talking to Devin and I a lot, along with getting along with the other students who were in this specific classroom. And so did the other bullies. So, kindness goes a long way. And sometimes, well, not sometimes, but all the time, karma's a bitch. So you better be looking around every corner, because you never know where karma could be.